whether he is paroled or not will be something that will be determined probably several decades from now.
Thanks, Randy. Thanks for your good work on this. Appreciate it.
My pleasure.
And now tonight's other top story, drama ahead on stage in Las Vegas. Nine Republicans will be featured on CNN, but the two who will grab most of the attention is everyone counting on Donald Trump and Ted Cruz to make the desert sand glow. Jeff Simon is communications director for the Massachusetts Young Republicans, and Mara Dolan is a Democratic political analyst. Welcome to both of you. So what has to happen tonight in order for the GOP to feel like they're not on down the river?
For that to happen tonight, basically they have to do similar to what they did in the past debates. You're going to look for, actually, I think the bigger contest will be between Cruz and Rubio. In the debates, Trump has really taken a back seat, even with his outrageous comments from last week. You can expect some lower tier candidates to go directly after them, but at this point, this would be more of a bit of playing it safe for the front runners, and I think very little will come out of tonight's debate, except Ben Carson may start to slide even more.
But Mara, even when Trump doesn't say anything in debates, even when he's like quiet and for him, his poll numbers still go up.
It seems that no matter what he does, his poll numbers go up. So I think that he'll continue to attack as much as he can, as often as he can. It's been a very successful strategy for him.
So is it a fight for second place now, or is there a fight for a savior of the party?
I think fight is the operative word. This is a fight. This is not a serious political discussion about solving the problems that we have in this country. This is name-calling. This is racism and hatred and ignorance. It has nothing to do with a mature, responsible political dialogue.
In an audio from a Ted Cruz fundraiser, Cruz had an assessment of why voters will still steer clear of Donald Trump and Ben Carson. Let's take a listen.
That people are looking for who is prepared to be a commander-in-chief, who understands the threats we face. Who am I comfortable having their finger on the button? Now that's a question of strength, but it's also a question of judgment. And I think that is a question that is a challenging question for both of them.
You know, this is going to be a foreign policy debate. Is he right?
Yes.
And he's speaking
Well, look,
definitely about Trump.
The funny thing is about, Trump has come out with statements against Cruz in the past few days, mostly because he's dropped in the polls in Iowa and Cruz has overtaken him. Trump's whole identity is that he's a winner and he's number one and that he can beat all these other people because he's Donald Trump. When that starts to fade away, when you start to get to substance, the more traditional candidates who have held government office before are going to start to rise in the polls, just like Ted Cruz is doing now. And Trump also said something today very interesting in a speech, or perhaps in the past 24 hours. He said that he thinks all these low-level candidates should drop away. I agree with him, they should, but not for the reasons he wants, because that low-tier support will coalesce around a non-Trump candidate, which will actually hurt him in the long run.
Well, let's refer to what you were mentioning. Trump told Chris Wallace that his problem with Ted Cruz is that he's a maniac. Let's listen.
I don't think he's qualified to be president.
Why not?
Because I don't think he has the right temperament. I don't think he's got the right judgment.
What's wrong with his temperament?
When you look at the way he's dealt with the Senate, where he goes in there like frankly, like a little bit of a maniac, you're never going to get things done that way.
You know, Mara, Senator McCain called him a wacko. Does he have a point? I mean, he has marched us toward a fiscal cliff. Is Trump right on this?
Repeatedly. I love it that Trump and Cruz are attacking each other on the basis of temperament. They're both right. Neither of them has a presidential temperament.
What do you think? You think that there's a presidential temperament in there for Cruz?
More so than Donald Trump.
Yeah.
More so than Donald Trump. Look, I think because of the past 7 years of Barack Obama, if we're having the conversation that Marco Rubio is now, quote-unquote, the establishment side of the party, we're in actually a very good position, and it's known. A poll came out today where young voters are split 45-45 with Rubio and Clinton. Now, granted, polling, we could have a whole other conversation about that, but the fact is that the pendulum has swung really far back from where, President Obama moved it very far to the left, and now it's swinging very far back to the right.
Does Christie have a chance in this debate? Can he fight? I mean, he's got some strong experience, he's got things to say. He can be the other loudmouth. Can he do it tonight?
He will certainly be a loudmouth. That's the only shot he's got. I mean, he's moving up in New Hampshire, but he's still he's very far behind.
He's getting an experienced debater, Christie. The campaign he's running, that's a different question.
Sarah Palin's still upset that he hugged Obama, President Obama, after Hurricane Sandy, and she's drumming up the conservatives to not be happy about Chris Christie.
I am not surprised that Sarah Palin has come out with her support of Donald Trump and Ted Cruz, but that is a conversation that I'm actually happy to have.
Sarah Palin, she's back, of course. We've missed her a lot. She told Jake Tapper that she's happy with both GOP frontrunners. She said, quote, "What a nice problem to have if it came down to Cruz and to Trump." Really?
Not so much Trump. Not so much Trump. Look. This is the funny thing about this. Trump has dominated the polls for months now, and his numbers are baked in. It's 25 to 30% of the electorate. But I have this very strong feeling, and there's actually a fair amount of research to back this up, that come election day, his supporters won't show up to the polls. Because there are some Democrats who are supporting Trump. There are folks who have never voted in primaries before.
But this is what people said about Obama's supporters, though, at the same point. Mara, what about the idea that these candidates are Sarah Palin's spawn? Suddenly Sarah Palin looks like that she was the outside candidate, and now we have nothing but outside candidates.
I'm so glad that you brought up Sarah Palin. Can you imagine if Sarah Palin had said some of the things the GOP field is saying this year, back when she was running? She would have been ridiculed and run out of town on a rail. Who knew Sarah Palin was ahead of her time?
I know, she's suddenly a lot smarter. See, you just have to surround yourself with the right people.
Well, more Republicans.
What's another exciting moment that, do we, just in a debate general, do we think they're actually going to have foreign policy questions tonight with real answers?
I think, the CNBC debate was a bellwether of what not to do, followed up by a more tempered debate after that. One thing I was thinking about today, we're 5 debates in, and one of the drawbacks of the 2012 campaign, where Mitt Romney was beat up incessantly in debate after debate after debate and was so softened for the general election, the RNC has done a very good job of preventing that and blocking that from taking place right now. There's no clear frontrunner to win the nomination. There's a frontrunner in the polls of Donald Trump, but they're not going to go through the grinder that Mitt Romney did.
Well, speaking of beat up, I want to go to a video we have of what happened at the latest Trump rally, where Donald Trump basically was interrupted by a Black Lives Matter protester, and the crowd erupts in a very violent, fevered frenzy, basically, calling for the man to be lit on fire, and someone, according to one of the reporters nearby, gave the Zeke Heil salute as they pulled this gentleman out. Mara, why isn't Trump saying this is wrong, you shouldn't be doing this?
Because what he's doing is working for him. He's running a campaign that is based on ignorance and fear and hatred. 64% of his supporters have no college education. They believe that Muslims are coming to the United States because they want to attack us from within. This campaign is working for him. I'm sorry, but it is wishful thinking on behalf of the Republicans that Donald Trump is going to go away and not be the nominee. Come on.
Jeff, shouldn't every single Republican be coming out saying that the behavior that Trump is allowing and not condemning from the stage is unacceptable?
Well, when they do, and just like last week, when Trump says something outrageous or does something foolish, it just feeds into the narrative of Trump. And we're still talking about it. Look, most of this conversation has been dominated by Donald Trump. The thing is, 25-30% of the vote, of a primary vote, is not a majority. And there's no national poll that takes place. These are state by state. He's already losing in Iowa. He's maintaining a lead in New Hampshire. He may win South Carolina, but this is not going to flip overnight. This is not going to be an impatient
Yeah, but the media
taking place.
can't ignore this. I mean, the media keeps getting hit for giving all this free time to Trump and how he hasn't needed to spend all of his money to get earned airtime here. But at the same time, we can't ignore this.
No, you're right to talk about Donald Trump. And the one good thing about his candidacy is he is exposing the number of ignorant and hateful and fearful people we have in the United States. That's the real problem.
With the amount, he's still, as you said, he's got these baked-in numbers. Is there still, last time we talked about the split convention, we talked about Trump running as an independent. Those fears haven't gone away in the GOP at all.
They haven't gone away, but I think what you're seeing now with the more recent polling, especially with Cruz taking over in Iowa, is that there's a crack in the armor. This is not going to be, just because Trump says he's inevitable doesn't mean he's actually inevitable. And I think that's going to start taking place in the next few weeks and months. And all it takes is a couple losses and it goes down the tubes.
We'll get you in some more later. I'm sure we'll be back with Garen Daly talking about some twisted holiday movies.